speed reading is not about going through the book so fast as to where you are not comprehending what you're reading. My suggestion while reading the book is to use a tablet or a note keeping tablet or electronic device where you can summarize each chapter as you read. And now with technology, what I like to do is I basically create my own Audible. So I record myself reading the book using my video my audio recorder on my iPhone. I record myself reading the book. Then I use the electronic device to summarize the chapter that I'm reading. And then after I read the chapter, I give, a 10, or sometimes if it's really lengthy, if I really got into it, maybe even a 20-minute reflection just to myself on what I thought about the chapter and um what the author was communicating. Now, if you do that, the reason why that's important is you don't want to, in my opinion, you don't want to forget what you read. And it's a quote that in one of my other books from Captivating History states that we forget most things within 7 days, right? If you don't use it, you lose it. So why I record it and I put it in my storage is so that I could come back to it. And even if it's been a while since I read it, if I'm listening to my own voice, if I'm listening to the notes that I wrote, then I could re-energize my brain and help me to remember what it is. So I would say in order to read multiple books at once or to finish the books that you read, because I see this a lot with us as humans, especially people that start buying books in itself could be just a whole culture, just buying books to buy books, right? And there's nothing wrong with that, you know but if you're buying books to obtain some type of enlightenment from it or just to pleasure read, right, because it makes us feel good, how do we get through the books that we have, right? And so last year I read, I think, 11 or 12 books. I read a book a month. So that's how I started. I started with a book a month. And so I had a history professor, Dr. McGowan, Brian McGowan, at my university. And he told me, hey, man, if you just read 10 pages a day, you could get through a book in a month. And I, I stored that in my brain, but I wasn't really implementing it then. So back then in college is more so your professor tells you to read this chapter or, read these two chapters in conjunction with each other. It's so much material when you're in university. You don't necessarily have to read entire books. For some classes, they might say read this entire book, right? And as we become employed and we get into the workforce, some of us have 8-hour days, 12-hour days. Um, some of us have days that just seem like to flow into each one, each into one another. So we don't have a lot of time to sit back, plan, and strategize how to get through this. So that's my strategy, you guys. So this is 5 books right here that I completed, and I really two or three of these was this year, two was last year, um, or earlier this year because we're coming to the end of this year. But I finished these books because I didn't put a timeline on me finishing it. That's the last thing I would say. Don't put a timeline necessarily on you finishing a book. Now, in my mind, I would like to say, okay, I am going to finish the book. But let's say, you put you're taking, that's why you want to take notes, because if you study it, if you're reading it, and then let's say you you have to take on another assignment. Well, a month or 2 months later, when you get your free time back, or 2 weeks later you get your free time back, you can start back exactly where you were to finish the book, start back taking your notes, and then boom, you won't lose any time in the book that you're reading.